Welcome to EDU TV with 4.5 lakh plus viewers and over 1500 educational repositories across the world. The founder is Mr. Pranav Guhathakarada and co-founder is Ms. Tanya Sethi.
Hello everyone. Welcome to this panel discussion on the relevance of boarding schools. We have two distinguished panelists with us today. Mr. Ajay Singh, Principal at the prestigious Scindia School Gwalior, and Mr. Yudhishter Puran Singh, MD at Dehradun Hills Academy, Dehradun, who bring years of experience in the field of education. Boarding schools have been a part of the education system for many years, and they offer a unique learning experience. However, with the emergence of new educational models, it is essential to revisit the relevance of boarding schools in today's world. Through this discussion, we hope to explore the benefits and challenges of boarding schools and discuss how they can remain relevant in the modern day education system. I am confident that our panelists will provide valuable insights on this topic, and I hope this discussion will be informative and engaging. Thank you for being here. Now I request Mr. Yudhishter Puran Singh to take the conversation further. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Yudhishter.
Good afternoon, Pranav. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? You stayed all good?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent, sir. All right. So the topic, advantages of boarding schools, developing independence, responsibility, and self-reliance. I think all these terms are synonymous with boarding schools, because boarding school is all about independence, is all about responsibility, is all about self-reliance. I think schools in the past were stressing more importance on these things as opposed to schools which are coming up now. I feel, schools like Scindia, Dude School, Mayo, Woodstock, St. Andrews, all these institutions have laid a lot of emphasis on these things right from their inception. But on a serious note, I feel in today's time, there is somewhere or the other less reliance on these things, because I think students are being pampered a lot in boarding schools. They are getting far more than what they probably require. Ajay sir will probably second that. If we look into the history of Scindia School or any school for that matter, students who've studied in the past in these prestigious institutions will all second that we were given what we were required, but beyond that, we weren't given anything else. And probably that is what resulted in them being self-reliant and being independent. Because when we give them something far more than what they get, then probably there is less chances of them being that dependent, that independent that they probably could. I think I would like Ajay sir to open this conversation with his inputs on the transition that he has seen on the importance of these things from his times when he was a student to now, because he's leading a prestigious institution. What changes he has seen, and what are the things that he's working on to ensure that these things remain as important as they were in the past?
Thank you, Yudhishthir, for a wonderful introduction to the topic. And let me say by myself, I think I knew how to tie a tie because it was taught there.
Yes.
So today, before I go to sleep, I have my shoes ready. I have my shirt for the next day ready. I have the trousers ready, which socks to wear with that trouser and which tie to wear. It's all ready because it was taught in the boarding school. Vis-a-vis, if I compare to my children now who are growing up, so they are also part of the boarding fraternity, but they're catching on these habits. Now, when I look at students who have been groomed with when I was a student, I think that the carrying on of habits and the inculcation of this regime, I will not term it regimented. I would say more of discipline. When it comes to self-discipline, not a doctored discipline. So you know when to rise, you know when to do your studies, because you have to do it on your own. So when you start doing things on your own, it automatically leads to self-reliance. Now, this whole concept I will take the example of your name and go back to the earlier periods of Mahabharata, when there was one guru who was not a Harvard returned, let's say it's Dronacharya, and all the Pandavas and all the Kauravas are taking education from him. Yet, apart from the common teacher, they all have their distinct identities. That's what we look at in a child, to evolve as a distinct identity. So if Arjun was a Gandhidhari, he was also a very proficient Khavaj player. You see, so XYZ things which we look at and call as holistic education has been prevalent in our Gurukul system. When I look at now, I think we are in a time where the parent or the community is confused. Should we be traditional or should we be Western? Because both the things cannot go together. Are we trying to provide a lot of comfort? Are we trying to provide a lot of emphasis on doing things for the child as a helicopter parent or a jellyfish parent, whatever terms you can use, and trying to dictate it? When we were left in a boarding school, it was one day, drop in, and rest we will see after 6 months. No call, something beautiful letter writing used to happen. That was automatically English enhancement skill. All these are linked. Vis-a-vis today, a parent wants to be intrusive into the child's life. That is wrong. Allow them to grow. So there is a distinct difference which has happened. The parental mindset has changed. I would not blame it. I would also try and analyze and look at what is the structure of the family now. One child, parents working, trying to support the child and trying to give the child for that loss of time. So there are multiple reasons why this change is happening. But as a student, I think the children who are missing out will miss out for life. So yes, that's where I would like to open up the.
Very, very true, sir. Very, very true. I think the shift from, being part of joint family to being part of a nuclear family, I think that has also, that is also one of the reasons why children these days coming to boarding school, they have they haven't dealt with, they haven't been given responsibilities at home, because either they are the only child, so he's pampered all the way through, unlike in joint family setup, wherein if he was the eldest in the family in terms of the siblings, he would be given the responsibility of ensuring that the food is given to the other kid. He's taking responsibility of padhai likhai and all those things. Very true. Sir, you touched upon the parent mindset. When we talk about bigger institutions, probably for the parents, they already know a tradition is being followed. If you talk about any big institution, they will probably try to follow it, toe the line to the T. Yes, there will be some who will probably not like to and who may argue against the whole idea. But how do we go about bringing about a change in the parents' mindset? Because these days I often feel, when I meet parents myself, they feel that sending a child to the boarding school, then the entire responsibility shifts to the boarding school, vis-a-vis the responsibility being shared between the parents, that is the family, and the institution, that is the school. So when there's a balance between the family and the school, the child obviously grows. Because otherwise, I often feel, I've got just 14, 15 years of experience, that somewhere or the other, the values that we talk about is something not the same. The conversation that the parent is having with the child, there is something amiss, whereas what we say, all right, you should be independent, but like you said, rightly said, jellyfish parents who will try to give everything to the child, irrespective of whether he actually requires it or not. So how do we go about bringing about a change in the mindset? What do you think, sir, about it?
I definitely think that we have to engage with the parents who are coming and wherever you get a chance to deal with them. Because certainly the entire aspects of parenting has somehow come to a point where we are trying to supplement our lack of time, because today's generation, more or less in a family situation, both are working. And if both are working, ultimately the entire thing is that how do I make up for this lack of time? So this is kind of reciprocated through extra love. I don't want my child even to fall down and get hurt during cycling. Now,
very true, sir. Very true.
If it doesn't fall down, how will the child not learn how to tackle injury? How will the child not learn how to tackle, let's say, a difference of opinion? Now, these are situations which are real life. I cannot have a child unprepared for a real life situation by keeping him protected in a cotton wool. We need to
Exactly,
expose,
sir.
and the parents are not ready to expose. I
That's
also
the
would not say, but I would certainly like to raise an important issue that even the changes in terms of legalities and all the stuff are putting added pressure to the schools where the disciplining has become something questionable, even to a teacher being hauled up, right, in terms
yes.
of disciplining. Now, job is it? So I will again come back to the point which you have raised. What do I as a principal or a teacher expect? You just give me a well-groomed, a well-behaved, a disciplined, a child who wakes up in the morning, who is value-based, who knows how to greet people. You just give this child. We will,
Yes.
help him to become what he can. But the least
Exactly.
expectation, you just give him this child. So what is the child who
Yes.
is coming? He is coming with a mindset that I'm paying fees, so I have a right. Because this
Yes,
is what is
unfortunately.
spoken. It has become a clientele kind of a situation. So these interactions
Yes.
are very, 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 very difficult, and we have to change this.
Great, sir. I mean, I completely second that. I mean, these basic things, what you spoken about. I mean, well-groomed, somebody who values education, somebody who respects others, respects elders. I mean, these are things which were probably taken for granted when it comes to the previous generation. These are something that every child, irrespective whether he's studying in a day school or a boarding school, I mean, one would have to toe the line because the parents would say, "Ki, bhai, ye to karna hai," irrespective of the situation. But now I think there is less reliance on these things because, like you rightly said, they feel. I mean, if you're paying the fees, then it is entirely your headache what you do with it, as long as you're getting results. But obviously, like you said, I mean, getting results is not everybody's cup of tea. I mean, there's certain discipline. Without discipline, there's nobody in the world, even the best of teachers, best of institutions, will not be able to give results until the child is disciplined enough and committed enough to that institution. I think what I'd also like to know, since taking over the helm at Scindia School. I mean, have you got about any changes as far as inculcating the idea or the concept of responsibility? I mean, from the students' perspective. I mean, what are the kind of things that we are doing in Scindia School to make our students as responsible as we possibly can, at the same time being connected to the real world?
So what we are doing, let's say, as an example, I'll again bring in. So we have an advantage of being on a fort where there is some wilderness also. So we are connecting them with nature, that nature is something which has to be respected. Now, how do you respect nature? Number one, you don't go for a food wastage in the mess. So we can happily and proudly say that we are a zero wastage school. Every child ensures that there is nothing left in the plate. So this is a habit now. Second, what we do, don't waste water. So every house has been given a backyard where they have to use the biodigesters which have been placed, and the water seeps in and is being used for gardening and all that stuff. So respect of wastewater to create something positive. Similarly, they were part of making the channels and the small little canals which goes to all our 6 water bodies. So they were all involved in it. So they know now the respect of water, that water should go in. They come and see how much water has been there in the pals now. So that brings happiness to their faces. We do very powerful social service. We have adopted 2 villages, and we ensure that every child gets an opportunity to do something for the school. So, the humbleness and the politeness and the rootedness, these are very important. You may be of an affluent family. You may belong to a particular class, but you need to be grounded. So hallmark of a Scindian is that remain grounded for life. There is one more habit which exists from the 30s, which is known as astachal. Now, astachal is when they go to a place which is beautifully designed as a semicircle, and to the setting sun, they will all come in white kurta pajama, sit there, pray, sing a song, have a moral story kind of, and finally they would sit quiet for 5 to 7 minutes. They are supposed to reflect what they have done. This habit of reflection they carry for life. Even if an 8-year-old boy is coming to the campus, he will first visit the astachal, because that is where he became more humane. So these are a lot of things that are happening in the campus where these habits are being inculcated so that they carry on in life ahead.
Well, I mean, to be very honest, I wasn't aware of few of them. I actively follow I actively follow your school. I think those boys had visited a village wherein they were helping with the development of some school or painting it. I was following it on
Yes.
Instagram or Facebook. I mean, these are commendable things, but I mean, I think as schools and as educationists, I think somewhere or the other there is no cohesiveness as far as schools are concerned, wherein we are all focusing on the intrinsic values of these habits. I think somewhere or the other there are certain schools. I mean, like you rightly said, there are these things that you are doing in Scindia. I think on a whole, I mean, many of them can be replicated in across other schools. All right, fair enough. One may not follow the same things what we are doing in X school, but I think on a whole, I mean, there is still. I mean, if we go back to Pranav's topic, maybe 10 days back, I mean, we'll again get back to importance of marks. We'll come back to marks ज़्यादा जरूरी है, जिम्मेदारी से ज़्यादा marks आ जाए. Even if my student is less responsible, that is fine with me. If he gets 95, that is my first priority. I think, I mean, what message would you like to give to other educationists and principals alike? I mean, so that there is a combined effort on behalf of all the stakeholders in terms of the educationists I'm talking about, the leaders per se, so that they are bringing this particular idea of, I mean, whether developing independence, responsibility, and not only in boarding schools, but I think these certain things can be implemented even to a lesser extent in day schools also. Because, I mean, if we do the demographic study, I mean, we will have X number of students, very less percentage number of students studying in boarding school vis-a-vis the day school. But idea is if the mindset is getting, if we are trying to harness the importance of these things right from the primary section of a day school, because eventually a grade 6 student joining Scindia will come from probably a day school. So if these things are given importance in our primary setup also, then somewhere or the other, yes, I mean, in a boarding school, they get the push. They are with us for 24 hours. You and me, we have the privilege of working with them 24 hours. A day school principal or an educationist will only get 6 hours, and he'll have a lot of activities to do. So on that front, what do you have to say, sir?
Like before Scindia also, I was in one of the schools in Noida heading the school. So even on Sundays, we used to call the students home. Not everybody used to turn up, a lot of them used to come and involve them into social, because ultimately it's about being a good human being, which is more important. What does the society need? Does it need a 95%er but not full of empathy? Or will the society appreciate somebody who is, let us say, an 85%er, but full of empathy and full of citizenship and full of, good human ethos? So ultimately the aim has to be defined and adhered to. What are we trying to look at? And good citizens, good students will bring in change. Not the, I don't know whether analysis has been done, but if you look at data, let's find out and try and collate data of all the 99%ers and what they have done for the society. I don't know what the results will come out, but I'm just throwing a wild guess. Vis-a-vis good humans, 85%er, but good at heart, full of values, what have they contributed? I think the results may be very interesting, and this should be a message in itself. So in day schools, we need to inculcate these habits of giving back to the society, getting them involved in some camps, getting them as volunteers for certain places, and then giving credit for it. Because today's world also is, what do I get in return?
What do I get? Yes, exactly.
So give them something to return. Like I had a good practice in that school also, which here also I do. Suppose you write your exam as a scribe for a class 10th examinee or a class 12th examinee who is not that great in studies. I mean, he's belonging to the SEN category. But then award him as a responsible student because he sacrificed his time, gave his own examination, also gave the examinations of that student. So these are real, heroes, which needs to be acknowledged. We always give to the first ranker, top ranker. Please institute prizes for the good citizenship, truthfulness, honesty, award them.
Yeah, I think in life, Pranav does a lot of hiring for, schools and corporates. I think if he was to ask the HR managers, what are the kind of skills that, you are looking for from terms of, college graduates? Probably the first few things would be, how effectively can he handle situations, how independent he is, how honest and trustworthy that individual is. I think the list, these are the kind of things that will be the top on the list of every HR manager hiring for their company. Because without these things, you could have a very flashy CV. you could have the best of degrees and best of knowledge, but if you don't have the basic social etiquettes and the basic mannerisms and the behavioral side of it, if it's not in your favor, then I think sooner than later you will find yourself in a situation wherein you will not go where you probably intend to go in that regard.
Right.
I think and I would like to add, sir, we in Dehradun Academy, we do one thing is we have a gratitude class every day. So I am the one who takes that class. So every day for 10 minutes, students have to, they get their gratitude diary and they have to write 3 things that they're grateful for. So it could be, I'm very grateful that I had lovely Rajma Chawal in the camp in the CDS today. I am grateful that I helped so and so ma'am in lifting her bag and carrying it to the office. So we are trying to inculcate the idea of finding pleasures in the small things, because I think off late what has happened is, we are always running behind the bigger things in life, and we are missing out on the choti cheezein jo hoti thi, jo pehle, I still remember when I was a student, small little things, even if I would have get a 5-star chocolate, I would be very happy. If I get a cold drink, I would be very happy. But nowadays, you give them chocolate shake, Kit Kat shake, this shake, that shake, burger. Still, mujhe ye nahi milta, mujhe wo nahi milta. So I think the idea of giving them too much, far more than what they get, is something that is probably far more detrimental to them and their future going forward.
Now I'll just show the beautiful boarding school. Allow me to have one of my students. Now see, these are examinees who are finishing the exams today.
Okay,
now,
sir.
What is a boarding school will just be reflected. Allow me 2 minutes. He's waiting outside.
It's a wonderful thing you are doing, bringing the student out as well. I think.
Hi, Keshav, come. All done?
Yes, sir.
So, ready to leave?
Yes, sir.
This is my boy touching the feet. This is Guru Shishya Parampara. And what do you expect? Now, these are the real heroes, full of values. Every child will come to meet. These are my success stories. Kitna number laega, I am this bothered.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Keshav.
Why boarding schools are important. You want to say something?
Congratulations.
Sir, I would definitely like to say, in order to mold a person's personality, to develop their character and overall development of a person, that can only be done in a boarding school, not in a day school. So that I think that is the main part.
He's a blue shirt. He's an appointment. He made a mistake. I punished him.
Okay.
He came back. He expressed his sorry and everything. He has learned how to transact. That I make a mistake. I'm sorry for it. Life moves on. Now this is a learning, and I'm happy about it. You made a mistake. End of the story. Let's do something next. So this is Keshav Kapoor, one of my appointments and my first batch of the school, and I'm proud of him.
Keshav, I think you have got your results today only, and you have scored very well. When you touch the feet, and I can't express, there was goosebumps. And Keshav, yes, and Keshav, I'm sure you'll do very well in life.
Yes,
Thank you,
with the values that Ajay sir has been teaching you, or you're spending time with a person like Mr. Singh, I think, more than what you have learned in Scindia School is the time that you spent with your teacher, Mr. Singh.
Right.
Will be most valuable. That is the essence of our Gurukul system, is teachers.
Yes,
Students.
this humbleness is what I'm proud of. What marks he will get,
Very.
I don't care. I don't care.
Well
So
done,
he has got
Keshav.
the marks
Seriously,
today.
kudos to you.
Thank you.
All the best. And my regards to your mom and dad. Definitely, you'll be tough, right?
Yes,
All the best.
I'll come back on the Founders Day.
Definitely. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Singh, I'm really impressed. And I don't have any words. I'll just answer Yudhishter's statement also. Mr. Singh, I was just telling, as we are into recruitments also, majority of the CEOs of rest of the companies are from boarding schools.
Yes.
And from a boarding school, what I find very good, the best part is students can have access to all kinds of spots. In day school, it's very difficult. And Mr. Pramod Sharma sir also told me once.
Hats off to that. He is a legend. He has groomed us all.
Yes, he told a very good thing. So the bonding in boarding school among the students is very strong. Like when Mr. Rajiv Gandhi became the Prime Minister, roughly half a dozen of his classmates or schoolmates they were part of the cabinet. Same goes with Mr. Imran Khan. He went to Edison College, and when he became the Prime Minister, I think 3 of his classmates or schoolmates, they became the ministers. So the networking is also pretty strong out there. Over to you, Yudhishter. I will request you to conclude the session.
Well, on a whole, I think what we saw in Keshav, Mr. Singh, I think hats off to you and the entire staff, I mean, who are trying to work tirelessly in ensuring that the kids in this time, despite all that we have, I mean, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, which probably is not the right way, I mean, right medium for them to learn these things. I think, I mean, despite all these distractions that I may say, in spite of all that, if the child is so grounded, if the child understands the importance of teachers, if the child understands,
that is what boarding school is all about.
Yeah, I mean, this should be an eye opener for the schools who are probably indulging in far more excessive pamperation, wherein they're trying to ensure that if we'll walk 2 more miles for the child, he will probably respect us more. Probably on the contrary, I think if you have honest conversation with the child, if you have straight one-to-one conversation, like you just gave a brief about the conversation that you had with Keshav, I'm sure it must have been very difficult for you. I mean, he's your appointee, and I mean, he makes a mistake and he's reprimanded for it. But I think what he has learned, that will be priceless. The entire experience of Scindia School probably can be defined in that conversation that he must have had with you. And that is what is going to take him forward wherever he goes. I think I don't need anything else to conclude, Pranav. I think this conversation, this dialogue in itself is concluding the entire thing, what we are talking about.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ajay Singh,
Thank
Principal
you so much.
the Scindia School Gwalior, the prestigious Scindia School Gwalior.
And EDU TV does a wonderful job getting people, and they have always been benchmarking. Wonderful job.
Yes, very true.
And thank you, Mr. Yudhishter Puran Singh, Managing Director of Dehradun Hills Academy. Thank you so much. I'm sure this video will be helpful for the parents, students, and all stakeholders of education. Thank you so much, sir. Pranam, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to EDU TV with 4.5 lakh plus viewers and over 1,500 educational repositories across the world. The founder is Mr. Pranav Guha Thakurata and co-founder is Ms. Tanya Sethi.